welcome to Cinema Therapy Reviews. I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies. Joining me today
is Alan Seawright, a professional filmmaker who needs therapy and who got most of my life's therapy from the subject of today's film.
That's right, we're covering music by John Williams, who has scored our entire lives since childhood, at least in our heads. You know what's interesting, and I just want to say before we actually discuss the film, without John Williams, I don't think there's cinema therapy. Without John Williams, there's no Superman, at least not as we know him, which inspired me to help people and my just obsession with film. Without John Williams, there's no Jurassic Park, at least it doesn't grip you with the awe and the wonder and the majesty like it did. That got you into becoming a filmmaker. So again, without John Williams, what we're doing doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true.
For those who are wondering, it drops today on Disney Plus, music by John Williams. So I'm just going to give you the floor. What did you think?
I am a little mixed on this film. As a sort of celebration of all of the things John Williams has done, it was great. As a film that explores the depths of a human person and teaches you about their soul and you really learn and grow through some things, it didn't really do much for me, but
right.
Again, as a celebration, it was fantastic.
Well, you know, and you see people holding up signs at concerts that say your music saved me. I think that's more true for John Williams than probably anybody on the planet.
Oh, 100%. Chris Martin from Coldplay just waxes rhapsodic about how, oh no, John Williams is the true pop star. He is more popular than we are, and it's not close.
The main reason I think it's important to celebrate him is just to say thank you for that amount of joy.
So this movie it hooks you with the story of how John Williams and Steven Spielberg came together and the story of the music for Jaws. And then it goes back in time, kind of non-linear storytelling, and tells you the story of John Williams' life. You know, he reminds me of you, Alan, in a way. This is the biggest compliment I can give you, is that you remind me of John Williams.
Okay.
in that
We're both old white men.
Yes. But he wanted to be a jazz pianist. That's what he wanted to do with his life. And he got into composing almost by accident. He started to play for film composers and as part of film scores just to pay the bills. He started doing something that wasn't his dream to pay the bills. And then he kind of kept going until he became a film composer. I thought it was fascinating that John Williams is not a movie buff. When he says, I hardly ever go to the movies, you know, but he loves music. And so he did become this incredible composer and then was able to circle back to his dream, not just of being a jazz pianist, but at this point to compose actual classical concertos, right? And so I think of you, who you just strove to be a filmmaker and kind of stumbled into a YouTube channel, which is now allowing you to be a filmmaker.
I was wondering how that was going to tie together. How are you going to compare me to John Williams? He's a massive talent, and I'm a guy on the internet. And again, I'm a huge fan of John Williams, so I knew a lot. There were things in this film that I didn't know, and I learned, and that was great.
Yeah.
And I got to listen to a hell of a lot of John Williams music
first
thing in the morning watching this movie, and that was a great way to start my day.
And what worked for you about this documentary?
It's very well shot. The editing clips along at a nice pace. I never got bored. I never felt bogged down by anything.
Yeah, it's almost 2 hours long, and I was engaged with it the whole time.
Yeah, it does not feel like 2 hours long. Honestly, my only complaint is that the interviews are a little bit surface level. I feel like I didn't get to know John Williams. I got to know about John Williams.
The thing that was frustrating for me is you had at least two really powerful things about his life. You have the loss of his wife, who died of an aneurysm on a film set when she was in her early 40s. And,
he was 44,
suddenly John,
I believe. He was young.
Yeah, and suddenly he's a single father of 3 teenagers. And you have basically the mutiny of the Boston Pops Orchestra, who doesn't want to play film music or have this this early 80s, so they see it as below them. And how he essentially just changed the world of music because nobody thinks they're above film music now in the classical world because of John Williams. I wanted to know more about both of those things.
What I came away from it wanting was John Williams documentary series. I don't know if you've seen the ILM series that's on Disney Plus. That's 5 or 6 episodes going through the entire history of ILM. I want that, but just John Williams.
The documentary starts with a thesis, which is that John Williams is amazing and no reasonable person can differ. Which everyone watching this documentary already knows that, and by the end you're like, yep.
And by the end it's proven. Yeah.
but you know how awesome he is, right? And so you get
Right.
more of the story of his music and how these pieces came together. I was deeply moved by everything that had to do with Schindler's List. Actually hit me really strong in the feels. Yeah, but I agree. It's surface level and it's fan servicey, and you know what? I don't care. I would watch it again. I'm going to watch it with my kids. You know,
I'm going to watch it with my kids too. It's really good. What can people take from this?
I would say the best thematic lessons are just about his pursuit of what he's passionate about and the joy he finds. I love the shots of him smiling when he's conducting, and the lessons about collaboration. I was fascinated to hear George Lucas talk about and to see unused bits of the Star Wars score where John Williams actually presents things and George Lucas says, that's actually not what I'm looking for. To actually know that sometimes it's not that he gets it wrong, but there's a whole process. It's not like he just shows up every time and it's perfect.
They played some of that unused music in the documentary, and he did not get it wrong. It was spectacular.
But the thing I was most impressed by was what I brought up earlier. He had a life plan, and he had what he wanted to do, and then he had what he did to pay the bills, which turned into a whole career, and he found joy in it. Yeah. But in achieving success with that, it opened the doors for him to do what he always wanted to do. And now he composes challenging classical music that's not part of a film score, and he's amazing at it. And I just think that's so inspiring that we pursue our dreams but without flexibility sometimes. But you got to pay the bills. You got to keep the lights on, but don't give up on what you want. But also don't feel ashamed that you're doing something else. You know, I thought that was really powerful. So who's it for? Honestly, everybody who likes to be happy.
Yeah.
And
do you like to feel good? You should watch this.
I'm super jealous because earlier this year you got to go to a live concert of all John Williams music, and you sent me video just to make me jealous.
I did, and it was spectacular. The Salt Lake Symphony Orchestra does a John Williams concert. So I'm up in the mountains with these giant pine trees as the sun is setting, listening to the E.T. score. It was absolutely fantastic. I was just openly weeping. I think we both like this film. I'm curious to see how it ends up rated by Cinema Therapy Reviews. Jonathan, what are you going to give this film?
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 simply because I wanted more meat and I wanted to, like you said, get to know John Williams better. On just sheer enjoyment, it's a morning with John Williams and Steven Spielberg and a bunch of other amazing people. That's a 10 in terms of enjoyment.
Yeah, I'm right in the same spot. I'm giving it a 7. It felt like a warm hug in a way that is like, maybe this should be an 8 or a 9. But then you think more deeply about the film. It's like, it didn't have a lot to say. I just felt really good the whole time.
Right.
And that to me equals a 7. Like, absolutely worth your time. If you've got kids, they can learn something about classical music and how their parents were shaped by this one guy in Hollywood.
And I loved watching his lifelong friendship with Spielberg. It's actually beautiful to watch the two of them together. So, yeah.
The amount of mutual respect that those two men have for each other, like these two titans, arguably the best to ever do it in their respective spheres. And the fact that those two love each other so much and are clearly just the best of friends is, honestly, I just want to like wrap up in that and just cuddle in it for a while.
You know what I want? I want John Hammond to come along and clone the two of them so they can keep going.
Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
All right, y'all. Did you watch music by John Williams? Let us know what you thought in the comments below. If you're enjoying this channel, like, subscribe, and make sure you click the bell so you get notified every time we post a new review.
So until next time, watch movies on streaming.
Yep.